Hi, hello, how's it going? My name is Becky, and today I want to talk about TWELVECLARA. Those who don't know me, I am a massive Doctor Who fan, and the 12th Doctor, and Clara Oswald in particular, I am not normal about. This video is mainly going to be a discussion as to why they are in fact romantic and not platonic. So if you are a TWELVECLARA denier, come along, I hope you enjoy it, and I will convince you by the end of this. If you're a TWELVECLARA truther, then just stick around. I think a lot of the fandom, the queer people in the fandom especially, accept TWELVECLARA as a romantic thing. But I think there's so many people out there, and I still see so many people out there that deny it, say it's father-daughter. Okay, if you like. I don't want to spend too much time talking about 11 Clara, because that's obviously not what this video is about, but I think it's important to start there, understanding their dynamic and where it goes, because I don't think it's always romantic. Obviously, in Series 7B, we know that Clara has a thing for the Doctor, a little bit of a flirtatious thing with the Doctor, but I think it's very much like a base level attraction. I think she finds the Doctor hot, and I think that's really all there is to it. It's fun and it's exciting, but it isn't particularly deep. We also know that Clara feels like this because of, in the time of the Doctor, when they're on Trenzalore, she has to tell the truth that she says that she's travelling with him because she fancies him. So we know that that is canon at that point. However, we don't really see much of the Doctor kind of reciprocating that. It's all playing along with it for sake of a story or whatnot. Like, I don't think it's received by the Doctor. However, I think when we see Peter Capaldi for the first time in Deep Breath and we're introduced to the 12th Doctor properly, there's a really interesting dynamic at play there. Obviously, Clara is no longer attracted to him because all of a sudden he is an old man. But I also think that the Doctor kind of gets a bit of a wake-up call by this. And I'm taking this from the whole Clara, I'm not your boyfriend scene at the very end, where he is specifying to him, he's clarifying to himself that he indeed is not the one in a relationship with Clara Oswald, which is a slightly strange thing to point out. I think the reason he does this is because after he sees how Clara reacts and is kind of pulled away by him slightly because of his change, I think it scares him, the fact that Clara can change up how she feels, and I think that hurts him slightly, almost as if he's put himself in the position of someone who is her partner. And so that isn't a reminder, as we know, to Clara, but it's a reminder for himself. And I think that sets up the really interesting dynamic that we see from these guys for the rest of the series. Obviously, the next episode takes place immediately after Deep Breath, because obviously when the Doctor shows up at Clara's school, she's like, that's how you in Glasgow. So we know that they kind of came around to each other pretty quickly, and that obviously isn't like a massive hindrance on them. But I don't think the romantic element of their relationship really takes place for a couple more episodes, and I think their romantic elements of each other happens in separate occasions. The Caretaker is the first one I want to talk about in regards to the Doctor himself. This is obviously the episode in which the Doctor meets Clara's boyfriend for the first time. But when he thinks he's meeting Danny Pink, he actually has confused Danny Pink for the other English teacher. Now, his reaction towards him, compared to actually meeting Danny Pink, it tells a million stories. The Doctor sees this other guy that Clara's seeing, and kind of sees a version of himself. He looks like the 11th Doctor, okay? Like a B-Tech version of the 11th Doctor. That's who this guy looks like. And so that's why the 12th Doctor's reaction isn't actually that crazy. He isn't as taken aback or offended by it or reluctant to accept that as a fact, because it kind of looks like him, which is important because the Doctor sees this as like, oh, second best. Like, you can't have me, so you're going to fall for someone who looks like me. Like, I get it. In a way, he can almost place himself in those shoes. Also, I don't think the Doctor sees him as particularly as a threat. He's a bit nerdy looking, and I think the Doctor knows that he's cooler than him. However, when he actually meets Danny Pink and he finds out Danny Pink is the one dating Clara Oswald, that's when his tone changes. So we know it's not really anything to do with Clara having a boyfriend. It's the fact that Clara is able to have a boyfriend that is so different to him that scares him. Danny Pink is nothing like the Doctor, and that's why his reception is so negative. He does not like Danny because he can't even, in another world, link the reason why Clara's dating Danny back to him. They're a million miles apart. But I want to talk about the end when the Doctor essentially gives Danny permission to continue to be with Clara, and a lot of people use this as an example for, 12-Clara is a father-daughter dynamic more than anything else, but that's actually not what's happening. I think the Doctor's whole mindset towards Clara's partner is a second best kind of thing. If he can see himself in Clara's partner, it's like, obviously she wants me, but she can't have me, so she's going to settle for someone who's like me instead. And so the whole am I good enough for her chat between Danny and the Doctor is nothing to do with, I want you to be good enough, my little girl. It's, I can't have her, so I want someone who will actually care for her to have her. I think that whole episode is probably maybe the first time that the Doctor is really faced with the fact that there is someone else in Clara's life, romantically speaking, and it isn't him. And when it's someone that could be him, has personality traits like him, and even looks like him. He's slightly okay with that. He knows that they could never be together. He knows that's not a realm of possibility. But when Clara's able to date someone that's nothing like him, I think it scares him, because it's obviously this doubt of, oh, could you even like me in the first place? But I think Clara's moment of realisation that she likes the Doctor comes a little bit later, specifically in Mummy in the Orient Express. This episode is obviously set up as their last hurrah before Clara's due to stop travelling with the Doctor. Now, there's a lot of really cute moments in this. One thing in particular at the beginning where I'm like, this is so 12 Clara. Sorry, I'm playing with my hair a lot. It's annoying me. Anyway, it's when they're stood at that table. Before anything has gone down, they're stood at that table, and Clara's chatting to him, saying like, oh, I can never hate you, anything like that. How could I hate you? And it's, linked arms and heads on her shoulder. And then the Doctor goes, oh, well, can I talk about the planets now? And she's like, yes. The way in which she says yes, there's nothing platonic about that. I'm so sorry. It's like, yes, please. I'm in love with you, and I find you talking about the thing that you're really nerdy about, that's what that yes is. That's a desperate yes. That isn't like a, oh, you go, like that, come on, be real. But apart from that, the rest of the episode is a really interesting delve into their dynamic and the fears that they face. In the terms of the fact of like, I think it's really the first time that Clara is having to think about what the Doctor really means to her. That moment in the corridor, especially that hallway scene, is super important to that, because she says, well, it's not like I'm never going to see you again, and the Doctor's like, isn't it? And that's the point where Clara's like, wait, I might have to never see you again, this might be my life. She really starts to get thinking, and also when she's trapped in that room, there's a discussion about, ending things on a slammed door, when it's more complication about their dynamic and if it's romantic. And I think all these things lead to her really thinking about what the Doctor means to her. And that's where I think she realises that it's a romantic connection more than anything else. Obviously, at the end of the episode, when they're back in the TARDIS, Clara is on the phone to Danny. Now, this is like, what do you mean you don't think 12 Clara's romantic after this? So she's on the phone to Danny, and she decides to say I love you, but the way she does it is that she's taking a moment away from speaking to Danny within that phone call, to have a purposeful gap in order to say it to the Doctor, so the Doctor knows that when she says I love you, she's not speaking to Danny at that moment in time, she's speaking to him. Now, there's two things behind this. Three. Number one, she said I fucking love you, be for real. Number two, I think people might make the argument that, well, it's platonic, like, people can say I love you and it not mean romantic things. Yes, but I just get the feeling, I just feel like it wouldn't be a taboo thing if it was platonic. She wouldn't have to hide it behind a phone call. She would just say to the Doctor that I love you, and the tone in which she said it would be understandable as platonic. But it isn't. I don't think that's possible. That's why she had to hide it behind something else, because she's in love with him. It's a romantic I love you more than anything else. But the third thing, and the most important thing here, she's disguising that behind the fact that she was saying it to her boyfriend. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a pro in this, but I don't think many people tell their boyfriends that they love them as a homie. Like, the intents are there. She disguised and I love you towards the Doctor behind her boyfriend. So, come on, they're literally in love. I'm not saying any point before then you can't perceive their dynamic as romantic, but I think those episodes in particular are the ones that really stand out to me as this is the point where both Clara and the Doctor respectively understand that they actually are romantically interested in one another. But I also think those moments come with recognition that they couldn't be together. That's why it's so difficult for them. That's why these moments hold the weight that they do, are disguised. For some reason, Danny Pink is always fucking involved. This recognition that they can't be together, but they mean a lot to one another, and they have to find a way to let each other know that. Now, I could spend all day going through all of Series 8 and all of Series 9 discussing 12 Clara moments. Like, there's compilations out on YouTube. If you don't believe them, seek them. Watch a specific edit with a specific song and you'll be like, oh yeah, no, they are in love. But I'm gonna skip forward now a little bit, just a little bit, to Face the Raven, because this is really when it's the end of obviously 12 and Clara as we see them, and there are so many insane things, and the actions taken by specifically 12 really solidify the fact that they are a romantic pairing, that they have romantic love for one another. Also, Face the Raven is the episode in which Clara, and it's obviously her own doing, she doesn't realise that taking the chronolock, that's what it's called, the chronolock off of Rigsy is going to kill her, but it ultimately does. It's before Clara goes out and accepts her fate and dies. There's obviously the moment between them whilst Clara is hugging the Doctor. Sorry, I don't feel normal about this moment. She says, everything you're about to say, I already know. Don't say it now. We've already had enough bad timing. Let me ask you, really politely here, what the fuck could that possibly mean? It's obviously romantic. It's obviously about a love confession. Obviously that's about a love confession. What do you mean we've already had enough bad timing? What else does that warrant apart from a love confession? Don't say it now. Everything you're about to say, I already know. Don't say it now. We've already had enough bad timing. What else could that be about apart from a fucking love confession? That's, I think, the first time, because there's so many like playful banterish moments between them where they're like, especially some things that they say towards one another, where it's like, oh, they're romantic, but they never say that to each other. They never admit that they're feeling that way to each other. There's things that they say to one another where that can definitely be derived from it, but it's not anything that you can could be disguised as something else. This is the first time that they are really properly saying to one another, we know how we feel about one another. We know that, but what can we do now? Literally, there's nothing to do. I'd rather you not say it, because nothing can happen. Nothing was ever going to happen, but especially not now. Dude, they were in love. That's what that was about. Fun fact, that's what that was about. Then moving on to Heaven Sent and Hellbent, and this is one I feel not normal about, and I'm going to talk about this again in a little bit in comparison to something else, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this as a whole. But generally speaking, the lengths that 12 goes through. The moments where he sees Clara's portrait in the confession dial, it's devastating. And in Hellbent, when he manages to get into Gallifrey, and after he's stolen Clara out of her time stream, but when he refuses to put her back in, the way his tone shifts is scary. I don't see anyone ever talking about it, and it's insane that no one discusses it, because it is like it's a whole other person behind that. Like, it doesn't feel like the 12th Doctor anymore. The way he is so hellbent, pardon the pun, on saving Clara, he loses his sense of self. He's completely overtaken by Clara Oswald. That is insane. That is not something you do for friendship. Like, don't get me wrong. I love my friends. Love them. But this is more than that. This is obviously more than that. Someone so significant to you, integral to you. Come on, man. That moment is enough to sell you, I think. Like, if you don't believe in TWELVECLARA after that, then I think there's something wrong with you, actually. And I think you just need to be miserable. Those are like the most integral moments to understanding TWELVECLARA as a dynamic, but there's so many other moments within the show that really define them. There's so many one-liners I could just spurt out at you here. Do you think I care if you so little that betray me would make a difference? I'm changing history to save Clara. Clara Oswald, you never look any different to me. You are her hero, I think. Hold my hand, I'm okay, I'm not. Oh my god, like there's so many things I could say that, especially that have come out of the mouth of the 12th Doctor, that defines the relationship as something so much more. And I think whilst I think the caretaker and the Mummy and Orient Express are really that establishing moments for them and understanding how they feel, obviously Face the Raven, Heaven Sent and Hellbent are like monumental episodes. It's the culmination of them as characters. It's the culmination of their dynamic. The whole series arc is based around their dynamic, which is, well, it's not platonic. Also, talking about series arc, the hybrid. The whole hybrid plotline is the fact that obviously hybrids in Time Lord lore is that there was a half Time Lord, half Dalek. It would end the universe. So that's what they believe it's going to be. Time Lord, Dalek. And then when they go to the end of the universe, after 12 has taken Clara to try and get her heartbeat start, they go to the end of the universe. And at the end of the universe, they meet a Shilder, or me. And that's when she says, I've got a theory. It's actually you two. It is Clara and it is you, Doctor. So essentially, the hybrid, something so dangerous as Clara Oswald and the 12th Doctor, which again, for me, kind of confirms the fact that their pairing is so much more than platonic. But I also think the hybrid storyline brings out a really interesting point about their dynamic. Because what is it? Like, obviously, it's not platonic. That's my main basis of this argument. But it's also not just romantic. I think it is so much more. It is a very soul-crushing, deep-burning yearn for one another. They are soulmates, but in a very complex sense, they are each other's other half. Clara is the Doctor's match in a way that I don't think any other companion has ever been. And I think knowing someone's soul, like, that's the thing, like, they know each other's souls inside and out. They know exactly who one another are in a way that you don't see with any other companion. There's so much, especially of Series 8 and Series 9. Almost in every single episode, there's at least one, like, TWELVECLARA moment. But the whole overarching serial arc, especially for Series 9, is based on their relationship, based on their dynamic, has an emphasis on how toxic they are and codependent they are for one another, and the fact that they're willing to literally go to the end of the earth and break it, and 12th Doctor specifically, just for Clara. Moving away from, like, episodic things in episodes and series in particular. I want to talk about 12-Clara's dynamic in comparison to other companions, ones that the Doctor is often shipped with or is accepted as canon that they were in love. First one I'm going to talk about is River Song. Now, I feel like I hear pitchforks. I feel like I'm going to hear pitchforks for both of these. I love River Song. Dude, love River Song. Think she's awesome. I'm not convinced by them as a couple. I'm not. The Doctor and River Song don't do it for me. It doesn't feel buzzy. It doesn't feel like anything to me. It just felt like a pairing because Stephen Moffat was like, oh, I got a fun idea. A couple that meet out of order. Like, that's kind of all it feels to me. I don't know. Like, I love Stephen Moffat's writing, and I think he has a really good ability for, like, writing emotions in a way that, like, I was going to say not to slag him off, but actually to slag him off, Russell T Davies wasn't capable of. But I just think he got too carried away by the idea of, like, Time Traveler's Wife, and kind of forgot the emotions. So 11 and River especially, not convinced by it. I'm a little bit more convinced by 12 and River, but because we don't really see River until the very end of series 9, Husbands of River Song, that's, like, there's not enough sustenance there for me, and I just don't believe it. Like, when I say, oh, they're a couple, I'm like, are they? Like, you have written that, but I'm not buying it. And so there's just, for me, if you're going to be like, oh, but what about River? Yeah, okay, if you like. It has nothing against 12-Clara. The other one that I want to talk about, and I can definitely hear pitchforks for this, and this is my most controversial opinion, I think, possibly on the planet, and it is that 12-Clara sweeps Tenrose. Yeah, I do think 12-Clara absolutely devours Tenrose, and let me explain why. I think the easiest way to look at this is through their exits as characters. Rose gets pulled into parallel universe, and really all the Doctor does to kind of console her, save her, if you will, is give her a clone of him. That is literally about it, to be honest, and I know some of you are not going to like me for watering it down to this, but really, in essence, that's all we have. That's all the Doctor does for Rose in that moment. Let me tell you, if it was Clara stuck on Babel Bay, we have another story. As I said before, we're going to dive in to Heaven Sent and Hellbent, and what the 12th Doctor does to try and save Clara is insane. It is insane. He gets stuck in a confession dial, which is Time Lord Hell. It is literally designed to be a torture chamber in order for you to get to confess something. They were trying to get him to confess about what the hybrid was, but he didn't know, and he knew damn well that if he just said he didn't know, the confession dial would release him. But instead, he realized that he could bargain with it, spend 4.5 billion years getting tortured in a version of his own hell just because he could break out to the other side, get into Gallifrey. He manages to convince the Time Lord to take Clara out of her time stream, refuses to put her back in, goes psycho, like actually goes crazy, like a little bit scary. Just a little bit scary. Runs away with her into the cloisters, which again, super scary place for Time Lords. It's like childhood nightmares, like you can't get back out as well, super dangerous. Doesn't care, goes in there with Clara Oswald anyway. Manages to steal a TARDIS just as they are about to find him and capture him. Then they run away. Clara's heartbeat is still not coming back. So he goes, right, we're going to go to the end of the fucking universe. Clara's heartbeat still isn't coming back, which means she needed to die. She needed to die. It was a fixed point in time. She needed to die. He goes, I'm not having that, by the way. And then when he finally realizes that it's not working, instead of just returning Clara Oswald like he should have done, he's like, all right, I'm going to make it easier for you. You're going to lose your memory of me. Clara's like, no, we're going to do it at random. Then he ends up losing his memories of Clara. All in an effort to save her, even though it was Clara's own fault. Mind you, at least Rose didn't intend to get fucking sucked into the parallel universe. I'm not saying Clara Oswald wanted to die, but it was her fault. And the Doctor couldn't accept that, and even after Clara told him, hey, like, don't worry about it, like, dude, I'm good to go back and die, like, I clearly need to. He's like, he just doesn't accept it. He doesn't accept the fact that there could be a life that he could live without Clara Oswald. But 10 seemed to do that pretty quickly with Rose. I also saw someone else describe it as like 10 Rose is like butterflies. You know, 10 Rose is like, oh, I got a crush in the playground and it's fun and exciting and whimsy. 12-Clara is not that. 12-Clara is angst. 12-Clara is burning despair and yearning and longing and pain. So you can say all you want that 10 was more in love with Rose. Howard's never been more in love with anyone than Rose, but I think you're wrong. Like, I actually think you're really, really wrong. And look, I think a lot of that does come from bias. People fucking love Rose Tyler. They don't really love Clara Oswald as much, which is, I mean, it's fine. It's wrong, but it's fine. But don't ignore the facts. Watch the show. Don't ignore the fucking facts. So this has been a lot of yapping just about TWELVECLARA and how passionate I am about it, and trying to get my point across about the fact that they are not, in fact, platonic, and that they're very much in love with one another. And I think Heaven Sent, Hellbent, Face the Raven, like, I think that's proof enough of it. But people will always be in denial of the truth. But I just want to wrap up by saying TWELVECLARA is one of the only ships where it would not work if they were together. I wanted them to kiss. Of course I wanted them to kiss. But TWELVECLARA could never be together. Actually, none of the Doctors or the companions could be together. But this is one where they know that. They know that that's the case. They know that they could never be one with one another. And I think that's what makes it so much better. So much more angsty. This yearning that we see from both of them, but we know it's never going to be resolved. All TWELVECLARA enjoyers want is that recognition, the fact that they are romantically in love with one another. And even then, in terms of defining their dynamic, it isn't simple as romantic. It's so much more. It's so complex. It isn't surface level by any means. They are literally soulmates. They're toxic. They're codependent. They get each other like nobody else. They know each other's souls. But that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video of me yapping. I know it wasn't very professional or scripted or thought out, but I just really wanted a space for me to come and ramble about TWELVECLARA for a while, because I love them in inhumane amounts. But again, if you are still a TWELVECLARA denier after all this, please go and rewatch Series 8 and Series 9 just through the perspective that they're in love with one another. Just through that perspective, and see if it changes anything. I can't imagine in a world being a TWELVECLARA denier when all the proof is in the pudding, especially when Stephen Moffat said, "Do you think I care for you so little that betraying me would make a difference?" is the most romantic line he's ever written. And Peter once described their relationship as deeply romantic. Like, that's fine. Like, if you don't want to, that's cool. But yeah, that is all from me today. I just wanted to yap a little bit about TWELVECLARA, and I hope you enjoyed, if you're also a TWELVECLARA truther. And I hope maybe I'll change some of your minds. If not, alright, just be stubborn then. That's all from me. I'll probably see you another time rambling about another piece of media that I care way too much about. Bye bye.